All right,
Okay.
I'm recording, but now I have to read this Joe Biden article because I bet it's good.
Oh, the thing I posted?
Yeah.
You'll really like it. Just wait till the end.
Oh, it's just videos of him being a creepazoid. Nice.
Oh, nice. Is he
It's
grabbing
most
people
of it.
by the pussy?
Oh, this is good.
Yeah,
Because like
that's-
I've been trying to bring up these like ridiculous takes he's had his whole career, and people just keep ignoring me. It's like, yeah, he advocated for segregation in the 70s. No, I'm serious. He advocated for
like,
segregation.
actually.
Like, I'm not.
Look at the fucking quote in the middle of the page. It's like, man, I had doubts until I met, like, it's crazy that Obama's the first cool, like, and like calm and collected black guy. You know, it's.
Yeah, it's.
Hold on, let me read this out. I mean, you get the first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy.
And clean.
Joe
Are we-
Biden, January 2007, referring to Obama.
2007. It's like just.
We're really...
There have been no clean black guys
Jesus,
before that.
man! Like
This is how we're starting our
Period.
Lighthouse episode?
and the people that are voting for him on goodwill from Obama. It's such a hilarious reason.
All I'm saying is that Frederick Douglass motherfucker was fucking dirty.
Yeah,
He took a shower.
he was real grimy.
No!
That's
We
why the
can't.
Transformers really liked him. It's because of the grime.
What they don't talk about with the Underground Railroad is that it stunk like shit the whole time. It's real.
You know,
gnarly.
considering what people used to do with chamber pots, now they just throw them out
Yeah.
into random places.
Well, that's even in like high society, and we're talking about slaves. So I guess like exponentially.
Paving the road with feces,
Yep.
which is a good way to start an episode.
hmm
The Underground Railroad built by shit. Yeah.
It wasn't built
Anyways,
by
the
shit, it was
Lighthouse.
paved with shit.
The Lighthouse. What did you guys think of The Lighthouse?
I don't know. What did you think of it, considering you didn't watch it again this week?
Ryan has seen The
Well,
Lighthouse probably
that's-
7,436 times.
I've
Yeah, that-
seen Watership Down probably an equivalent amount, but I made sure to watch it.
Listen. I know so fucking much about this movie from how much I watched it.
I'm willing to defend Ryan.
Oh yeah,
a bit here.
what makes up a lighthouse?
I'm willing to defend Ryan a bit, not very much.
I am obsessed with this fucking movie.
Well, just because he's watched it so much so recently that I feel like if he watches it too many more times, he's going to hate it. And I don't really want him to hate. But he shouldn't have picked
I
it if
doubt
he's worried
that.
about that. So I don't know. I can see.
Like, this is the only movie that I would not watch it for the show because I've watched it so many times already. Every other movie that's even my favorite, I would still watch again. Like, if I chose, like, Breakfast Club or something. But this one, I feel like I have a little bit of leniency on that.
He picked it because he didn't want to waste time watching it again.
No, I was too busy watching Mr. Robot last night.
That's a good excuse. Because he's on the last season of Mr. Robot now. It's very good.
Yes, Mr. Robot, good show.
Okay. I'm
Hot
still
ass,
recording.
burning ass take. Mr. Robot is a good show.
Yeah.
Burning as a Fresno lens, scorching your eyes.
So
We're going right into it.
The Lighthouse is the movie that should have won Best Cinematography.
It should have won Best Everything,
Didn't.
really.
And that Willem
What did it
Dafoe
win?
should have won Best Actor or Supporting Actor, whichever one, for his performance. But I believe it was 1917 that won cinematography, I think.
Well, what I think
God.
didn't the Lighthouse win an award?
Nope.
Or did
It was
nominated for one award. I
It was
think it
not-
was
that's
either
right.
set design
Yeah.
or makeup or something.
No, it was cinematography. It was nominated.
for
But
best cinematography.
It was never going to
32nd
win
Academy
because it's up
Awards.
against 1917, which is two things. It's for boomers and it's a gimmick, and boomers love gimmicks, so it's perfect. It's perfect for the
Boomers
Academy.
love gimmicks, and boomers love war movies, and boomers are the only thing that make up the Oscars, so...
I mean, pretty
Or
much.
the Academy, so...
It was for a black and white movie to win Best Cinematography, it has to be kind of an outstanding set of circumstances. It's certainly not going to be a horror movie that does it,
Or it has to be made by Steven Spielberg,
who also doesn't make horror movies. Yes.
and about Hitler or something. I haven't watched
Yep,
it.
Are you now? You're trying to accuse the Academy of being full of Jews. Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah,
You're
that's
going
exactly
into the
where I was going with that
anti-Semitic
bit.
rabbit
Look.
hole.
If we're anti-H bomber guy, we might as well be anti.
Whoa! No one's
Okay.
anti-H bomber guy. We're just all of his fans
Yeah.
are terrible.
H bomber guy Discord.
Just everyone
Yes.
that gives him a living and supports his content is terrible. He
Yeah,
himself is
absolutely.
actually really cool.
Yeah, H Bomber guy, you're cool.
He
Have
would
fun
be
with
cooler.
your games.
Let me be clear. He would be cooler if he dissed his own fan base, but it's not going to
He
happen.
would be
You got to have
way
realistic
cooler.
expectations if you don't want to.
But
be
then he would
miserable.
get fucking canceled if he
Mhm.
did that.
so canceled.
Maybe. Anyways.
Like his fan base is so sensitive.
It
that
depends.
if he said anything not positive about it, but he would get fucked.
He'd be canceled in
bad.
the same way ContraPoints got canceled, where it's like kind of a half cancel.
Yeah.
But not really. So, good movie.
The Lighthouse.
Green
by
Goblin.
Robert Eggers. 2019.
What's the guy's last name? Snowden from Twilight? Edward Snowden from Twilight?
Edward Vampire Face. I don't know.
You know what,
So
Edward? You know what? What if Twilight had Edward
Edward
Snowden and then it was WikiLeaks?
WikiLeaks. Ooh.
That's a good
It's a
fleshed
bit-
out bit, right?
It's
Yeah.
a bit of a. I mean, calling it fleshed out. I think that to use
Fleshed out.
a word from the Lighthouse, I would describe it as gangrenous
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
terms of flesh.
I suppose you're right.
Gangrenous.
It's a movie about
Two guys in a lighthouse.
gay sex and
That is
capitalism.
literally all it is.
And,
two guys in a
Capitalism.
yeah, totally. It's about capitalism. They're almost the same guy, but one of them has tenure and has a slightly higher position, and that's the source of the primary tension, the primary conflict of the narrative. But it's Lovecraftian, so it's about everything at once. Is the
Yeah.
thing.
I didn't even like. I legitimately did not even think of anything like political in this movie at all. But then you said that, I'm like, oh,
well, because the
that
light
actually makes a lot of sense.
the light doesn't necessarily have any supernatural or special qualities to it, but from
No.
the perspective of someone who's never seen it and may never see it at any point in their lifetime,
Right.
it sort of synonymizes with, I don't know,
Being rich.
success of any sort, validation,
Yeah.
meaning in existence, which is usually defined by working hard and succeeding in a capitalist
I
society.
more defined it as searching for some sort of inner truth, but that inner truth, when you discover that about yourself, is deadly and dire. Like, there's a reason why in I Have No Mouth, the game, you get points taken away by reading the character's psych profile, because no one likes to be
Yeah.
confronted with their deepmost, inner darkest secrets.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what happens with the younger guy.
Yeah, I'm looking at the script, and I was looking at the script before we
Yes.
started. They're just referred to as young and old.
Yeah, and I was wondering if that's how we should do it, because they're both kind of unreliable narrators of their own names. In a
Well,
sense.
just use the actor
I mean,
names.
yeah, just Defoe and Pattinson.
Pattinson.
Nice.
All right,
Good.
that's how I'll do it.
Pattinson.
So I at least want to give a little context for the movie, just in case someone hasn't seen it. Even though I think everyone should see it, it's a fucking incredible.
Well, the bigger if is if anybody's listening to this podcast is the bigger hypothetical.
Well,
That-
we already know that. It's your dad.
Too.
That's true. And my dad, I saw it with
Anybody
my
who
dad,
is listening
actually,
to the
when it
podcast
came
is
out.
Well,
Probably
maybe
someone with
explain
bad
it again
film opinions.
a few decades down the line. Someone
Mhm.
comes across this.
Yeah, maybe Robert Eggers will watch this when he's
Robert
looking for
Eggers.
Lighthouse content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robert,
Robert
let go
Eggers.
of my filmos.
Really good,
Well,
really
then,
hot
well, I
bits
feel-
today. Coronavirus is doing wonders for our bits on this show.
Sure is.
Uh,
So I
Yeah.
kind of want to talk about Robert Eggers because, like, he only made one other film. I don't know about like any short films or anything else he's made, but he made one other film other than The Lighthouse, which is the Witch or Witch.
just
I'm gonna call it
why do you
Witch 'cause
have
it's
to?
easier.
Why would you? It's
Because
not-
it's funny to me. It's
The
funny to say the
Vivitch?
Vivitch.
I think WikiLeaks is objectively better than and calling it the Vivitch.
Well, yeah, because that's like actually stemming from like an accent.
Well, because
I'm
it's
just saying
actually,
it's
I'm
dumb.
probably the first person to come up with it, is the thing. Whereas the Vivitch thing, it's like every fucking fourth grader when that movie came out was like, it's two V's, whoa, oh, lol.
Because it's based on a regional accent, I would not agree that you're the first person to come up with it.
Yeah.
WikiLeaks? But related to Edward Snowden, Edward Cullen, specifically.
Well, maybe
That's
even
the real
still,
meat of it.
someone in Romania probably knows who Edward Snowden is.
Maybe.
Romania.
Someone on Romania uses Reddit. I don't know.
I don't think Romania is real. I think it's a psyop.
I see.
Yeah.
I think it's some sort of
psyop by,
mind-gate conspiracy.
So then, by extension, do you think Transylvania is real?
Just the hotel.
Okay.
None of the rest of it.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, Robert Eggers, his first film, The Witch. It's interesting to compare these two films because there's a couple things they share in common. You know, there's the odd dialect that's kind of hard to understand sometimes, but it's way harder in The Lighthouse, in my opinion. They both have a very stark, like, realism to them. Their time periods.
Yeah, totally.
Like tentacles.
Well,
I know what you mean.
that's-
Sense
yeah.
of setting. It's meticulous sense of setting. Yeah.
Yeah, but the Witch doesn't go. It's I don't know why I don't like it as much as The Lighthouse.
You're fondering here.
I think it's just because it takes itself way too seriously. The Lighthouse is a really it's legitimately funny at times. Like it makes fun of itself. It makes fun of its characters. Even
It makes two of them.
Yeah, all two of them.
I don't know. I feel like haven't we talked about this recently? Where if you have comedy in a serious movie, it isn't necessarily funny. It just adds texture to the seriousness, makes it feel more like an actual.
Well, because if there's
event.
nothing to contrast the seriousness to, then
Right.
it doesn't feel as serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's like a difference between like American Psycho, which is actually humorous at times, and then something like this where I don't
There's
ever really
farts.
laugh at it. It's only there to sort of like add texture to the.
Yeah, sometimes I laugh at it. I laugh at the okay, I'll have it your way. I like your cooking.
Okay, yeah, no, that's
Sometimes.
funny. You're right. You're right. That one line
was
is funny.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
Which is it's genius that they're able to pull that off, that line in particular, because it's like it's right after Defoe goes on this long like
It's a prayer. It's a
powerful prayer
tirade
to the sea gods.
which if that happened to you in real life, you'd be like you would laugh at it because it's so ridiculous. And over the
Yeah,
top.
like
but
you'd have that nervous laugh of like your parents just yelled at you in the most ridiculous way for the smallest thing, and you can't. You're kind of scared, but you can't help but be like, like really, dude. You know?
I mean, all filmmaking is illusion, and during the monologue, Defoe's brilliant performance, best of his career, is carrying the illusion, and then at the end of it, the sort of break in tone, the sort of fine, I like your lobster, the comic relief of it, brings it to reality, so the audience doesn't have to bring it to reality with irony, in a sense. So it like it takes this thing that. If you left it on that same note for too long, you would start to like lose your immersion in it because it's so unreal and over the top. But
yeah, no,
it's so good at knowing exactly when to apply the brakes and switch gears.
Yeah,
especially
timing on
since
it
that
is
prayer was
perfect.
brought about by, like Defoe's desperate inquiry for, like. You're fond of my lobster, right? At the very least,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
like yeah, like
No.
I know you really want steak, but like you like my lobster, right? Like it's all cool, and like I like that scene a lot because I can't tell if he's like really serious about it because like there's some like eldritch horror that would like kill them both if he didn't like his lobster, or if he's just really insecure about his lobster.
Well, I think it leans more towards the latter because they're also both fucking
they're just going
drunk.
fucking crazy. But that's like part of why I really, really, really like this movie is because most scenes, at least, maybe not like in the first like maybe 20 or 30 minutes, but like most scenes you can just put whatever meaning you want on it most of the time, and like as long as it's not something really stupid and ridiculous, like the whole movie takes place in 2010 or some shit, then
it does.
It actually kind of makes sense.
You could even do something stupid and ridiculous because it's Lovecraftian and it kind of allows for that.
I think calling
infinite
it
capacity.
I don't know if Lovecraftian is quite the word that
I mean, it's cosmic horror of some sort.
Yes,
maybe not
that's
Lovecraft
the word,
specifically.
That's the word that I would use because Lovecraft's take on cosmic horror is predicated primarily on the idea of these forces intermingling with the masses. And you can really see it in some of his works, like the short story where a guy burns himself after finding out his grandma's from Darkest Africa. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's about
everyone,
dark evil.
I don't
if you have not, look
exactly
up Lovecraft's cat's name.
Well,
look that up right now.
The biggest...
Have a laugh.
Yeah, okay, great. I love Reddit posts from 2013. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. What I think, like, the biggest difference that jumps out at me is, like, they're both about everything. Like, traditional Lovecraft horror is about everything, and this movie is about everything all at once, sort of existentially. But Lovecraft usually does it by excluding everything, like excluding any bit of detail that you can have, and sort of just describing things as indescribable and
and even
inconceivable.
And when describing things like this sunken city of R'lyeh by using terms like non-Euclidean geometry, it's almost escaping an explanation, which is that's where the horror comes from in his writing, particularly.
Right. But like Lighthouse reaches kind of a similar effect by including everything. Like it's like every main interpretation for the plot is kind of given a bit of substance and possibility. There's like plenty of imagery in there to suggest that it's about homoerotic urges. There's plenty of imagery to suggest it's about like the power dichotomy between the two of them. Plenty of imagery to suggest that it's like they're the same guy and that they're remembering the same thing. Like all these different theories, they're given, if not equal, substantial evidence for each of them. And it's like, it's in a way, it's just like a more mature, better written way of reaching the same cosmic, unknowable evil. Because it's like everything happening at the same time instead of nothing happening.
Well, it's like what Penn and Teller, how they started their magic careers. Because traditionally, the way that magic, like stage magic, was done was that the magic was created from the void of understanding that came from people observing the trick. Like, oh my God, they sawed that woman in half. Oh my God, he created a flower on a canvas by not even touching it, and that was what people enjoyed. But Penn and Teller came along and kind of sort of mixed up the formula a bit by explaining how the trick was done at the same time. And this may be a misquote, but they said something, Penn at least said something like this, where if you do a magic trick and then if you explain it afterwards and the magic is gone, was it ever really there? You know?
Yeah.
I think the same can be said of something like this, where, like you said, it manages
Robert
to achieve
Eggers
the same effect by including all of these details.
Mm.
Yeah, like if Robert Eggers came out and said what the movie was about, and he said like what was in the light, it might completely ruin the fucking movie. In fact, I think it would.
It'd be like explaining what's in the briefcase in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I mean,
and I used to be like sort of cynical about that, like be like, oh well, if you're not gonna do that, not gonna tell us what's in the briefcase, or like be so unclear about a certain part of your story on purpose, then that must mean you're lazy. But now I realize it's more about like making everyone happy, because then anyone can put anything in that briefcase.
Well, it's not about making people happy. It's about like art only
It's about
works
the
if there's like a mystery or an unknown component. If you know everything, it's just arbitrary lists of stuff.
Well, it
Right.
becomes, it's no longer artistic, it becomes like an explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's just kind of lame to listen to. But if it's something you can like sort of put whatever you want in, then it's like, well, that's my own thing now, and I like that part of it.
I mean, it's not exactly a 1-to-1, but when Aronofsky told everyone his specific allegorical intent for Mother, and it's like, yeah, all that's in there, but that doesn't have to be the entire film. But you had to come out and say, oh no, this is the entire film. And it's like, shut up, you fucking idiot. I mean, first off, I don't care anyway, because I don't listen to artists about their own work, and I don't think anyone should. But, like, it's so stupid to, like, confine yourself that way.
I think sometimes it's at least a little important to hear something about artists' intent in their work. The
thing with Mother is that the allegory is actually super obvious. Like the one that he thinks is the entire extent of the film is incredibly obvious. So it really didn't even need to be said. But
the theme of 4 children traveling across small town America and annihilating the forces of evil using psychic powers.
Yeah, that's the one.
I haven't seen the movie.
Am I having a stroke? What the fuck?
That's my only point of connection.
Okay.
Come on.
It took me a lot longer than I thought. Well, it's because like I really love Mother 3 and I really love the film Mother, and I love them both so much that I forget that they have the same title because I think of them as totally separate artistic entities. And I
they kind of are.
That's why I say Mother 1. Some people say Earthbound 0, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's
weird.
That's kind of silly in my opinion to just pin everything on the second game.
Well, I mean,
even though it may be the most culturally relevant game that everyone likes, you know.
Well, here's the thing: is that Mother 1 was supposed to come out in America, but they just decided to not do that because the SNES was coming out, and that version, that prototype ROM, was called Earthbound, which is why it provoked that name.
I see.
If you go on Moby Games, there are 2 Earthbounds for that reason, which is how I found out about it, and I remember being very confused.
Yeah. So going back to the script, there's a scene in here that I don't remember seeing in the final cut that I think is kind of interesting that I want to talk about just a little bit. It's where it's right before it's a scene that happens right before Defoe bursts in on Pattinson, loading up like the furnace with coal, saying, "Oh, the damps got to the provisions." Like it happens the scene before that.
So wait, before you go on, I want to ask you something. 1, how many times did you see this film, and 2, did you watch it with subtitles?
I didn't watch it with subtitles. I watched it once all the way through, and then the second time I kind of skimmed it because while I was watching, I was kind of making mental notes of parts that I think I would want to at least watch again. Trying to look for something else. Like, for example, the scene where Pattinson, early in the film, goes out into the waves and sees the logs and eventually sees Ephraim Winslow, the real Ephraim Winslow, like, floating in the water.
Maybe. Maybe it's the real Ephraim Winslow.
Maybe. Maybe it's a tentacle man disguised as him. Who knows? But yeah, I didn't watch it with subtitles because I felt like I understood most of everything that they were saying. There were some words that I did look up, mostly the words that Defoe was using in his poetry that he would occasionally recite. But most of it I could glean from context clues what they were trying to communicate.
I was just asking because
too much of an issue with the dialogue, at least.
I definitely did, because the first time I think it's like the first 2 times I watched it with no subtitles, and both times I did not understand what the fuck he was saying when he was yelling at him in the furnace.
You also watched it in the theater too, right?
No, unfortunately not.
I saw it twice.
Oh, so you have no excuse.
I'm cool.
Good for you.
But yeah, you were talking about
so there's
a scene before that.
Yeah.
In the script.
right before that, Defoe, it even describes it. I'll just read out the description here. Old Defoe is in his oilskins. He stands like a magician in front of the boathouse, facing the waves. He holds his right hand over the sea with 2 fingers extended. He holds his bottle in the other hand. He counts the waves as they crash on the shore. 4, 5, 6. The waves are growing higher. 7, 8, 9, or 7, 8 go down. He makes the sign of the cross, like a Catholic in quotes, and on the 9th wave, douses the sea with liquor from his bottle, etc., etc., etc. Abate ye, O waves of the Father, Neptune, I beg of ye, drink of this gift, quench thy spleen, and abate. He tosses some more liquor into the sea and takes another swig. A few more shanties. A massive wave crashes over Old, knocking him off his feet. He tries to stand to catch his breath. He is terrified. Another wave hits him. And then that's when it cuts to the scene description of the coal burning.
That's interesting.
I think it was a good idea to cut that, probably. Because that's like, that's right when there's a massive sort of time skip, and it's sort of like, well, the pacing is brilliant throughout, but the idea that we're sort of just cutting from time to time, and not that much time has passed, not that many things have passed between cuts or between scenes. I think it's hard to tell. All of a sudden, well, yeah, but then all of a sudden it's Defoe talking about it being having been like weeks or something, and it's just sort of like played as straight as any other time skip.
Like, no, what are you talking about? We were out trying to see the boat like yesterday. We just overslept. No, it's been weeks, man.
Yeah,
it's been weeks since we missed that.
And it's like there are so many questions you can have about like, what if Defoe's just trying to gaslight him, which is possible.
Yeah.
Or like which one is more crazy? That kind of, because they're probably both crazy.
Yeah, and that was part of
much later.
Yeah,
yeah, and that was part of my sort of side theory of they're the same person, because it's like at some point they were confused about when they did that, you know.
Well, I think like the similarities between the two is less that they're literally the same person, and more that the sort of arbitrary nature of human borders. Yeah, they both have like similar existences, similar like perceptions of themselves. That doesn't mean they're literally the same person. I think that plays into the capitalism symbolism pretty well, because they both are here because they killed some other guy to defend their position or take their place, and it's like only one of them is actually held accountable for it, the one who's not in charge of the situation, sort of the power structure defining the nature of the relationship, and then the leader in the power structure not knowing, not understanding why his employee isn't acting in good faith with him, why his employee isn't like on the same page, because it's like, well, because you flaunted your superiority in every conceivable way, even if you don't realize it.
It's because you told me to literally take out every single board, scrub them, then scrub the nails, and then put them back together.
Yeah. And I guess it's like Defoe wants that to be not a personal issue, but an issue with the concept of having to work for him. But it's impossible to separate those two things, because you're being an unnecessary dick about it. So it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and going back to the scene description, I also think that it was wise to cut out that section, just because I think it almost seems to make the distinction between the fact that the old man is vaguely magical at least a little bit more explicit, because the scene description does say that when he does spray the alcohol in the waves, they do actually go down.
Yeah.
Which isn't something that waves typically do.
It also implies that the sea itself is actually like an entity. Which, I mean, like it is good to cut that, because it makes things more unclear in that sense.
Something I was thinking about that this time that I had never really thought about before was, because it takes place in the early 1900s, which is around the time that the first ever bit of evidence that we might destroy the environment with our consumption of fossil fuels. Nobody listened to it, mind. But like that was when people first started suggesting, hey, if we keep burning coal like this, it might be bad at some point eventually. And I was thinking about how he gets into this sort of 1v1 with the bird while he's trying to do his work and bring the coal to the engine. And it's like Defoe gets mad at him for agitating nature and sort of like holding him responsible for it. I don't know. I didn't really.
That's a very classical theme in like nautical literature is understanding the balance between mankind and nature. Because what he says about seagulls being like representations of dead sailors, I believe that was a belief of some kind. The thing that I remember from reading specifically the Rime of the Ancient Mariner is that the albatross is a particular bird that you do not want to kill because that is in essence a representation of the sea, and if you kill it, especially if you kill it and eat it, then your troubles will surely increase. And that's what happens in the Rime of the Ancient Mariner is while they're stuck out in the middle of the ocean, they kill and eat an albatross, and then guess what, now there's no more rain, so we can't hope to catch any water in buckets or anything, and we all slowly starve to death.
Yeah.
Huh.
But
interesting.
And the fact that the seagull itself is missing an eye, and then when we see the second lighthouse keeper, he's also missing an eye.
Yeah, that's a really good bit of imagery.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things in the movie that I definitely missed the first few times watching it, which is why I think it's important to watch this more than once.
I agree.
Like, at least one more time after you've seen it once. It's like essential to enjoying the movie. Because I've shown this to a lot of people, and the first time they're like, "Yeah, that was all right," and then the second time they watch it, it's like, "Oh fuck."
It's just it's one of those things
when you just have to digest it.
Yeah.
Well,
because there's so much put into it. And like I said, there's so many little details that you don't notice the first time. And then when you add those into what you already know about the movie, then it's like, oh yeah, now this makes sense.
I mean, I generally think that movies that are good, when you have a sort of mental abstract concept of the pacing, it's a lot easier to appreciate how the pieces fit together. That's only in films that are good, though. Usually bad films are worse on a second viewing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thankfully, Smart House doesn't suffer from those issues.
Because it's good. Lost episode. And by lost, I mean never recorded.
Never actually recorded.
It exists only in our hearts.
I'm telling you, that's what happens when I pick a live-action movie.
No, it won't happen again. Pick another live-action
podcast gets cursed.
Smart House 2 next week. House 2001. What were you saying, Dunk?
Yeah, I don't think the environmentalist thing really holds up super well, but it just is an interesting bit of interesting curiosity to think about. I just don't think the rest of the film really holds up that particular interpretation as well as it does some of the other ones.
So something interesting about the way that the mermaid is depicted is apparently... y'all have seen the Starbucks logo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The mermaid with the splitting tails. So that was the original interpretation of a mermaid for the longest time. But around the age of the Victorian era, which would have been, around the same time that the movie takes place, the mermaid's two tails were like basically joined back together because it was meant to sort of prevent the idea of sexualizing the mermaids. Because it's like, you can't... Because it's like, well, it's not like their legs, so if you close it up, they don't have a vagina.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that way...
And apparently
the won't get horny and drown themselves trying to fuck.
And the stand-in for the vagina that the mermaid has in this film is apparently based on a shark vagina.
Yeah.
Neat.
It looked like that one picture of the dolphin vagina that always shows up on the internet. Or is that just me?
Looks like that Arby's
might
burger
just
that
be
reminded
you.
me of
I haven't
my
looked
ex.
at too many dolphin vaginas, and by that I mean 0.
I mean, I swear I haven't gone looking for it, but...
Yeah, that just came across my Twitter timeline.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because I browse, like, the Cumtown Discord where people post like gross shit on there all the time.
That'll
It's
be
basically
that'll be your Fresno lens.
It's basically Space Dicks Part 2.
Fresno lenses are crazy, man. They're like all conical and shit. They've got circles, and they are hard to look at.
Yeah, I bet. They're meant to be a friggin' light for people in boats during storms and they're like miles and miles away. They gotta be friggin' bright.
Well, it's not necessarily that it's bright per se. It's the fact that the circles are able to reflect the light at a much farther distance. It has an oblique reflection.
Circles.
But the circles kind of create a hypnotic pattern if you do look at them, which is certainly how the actual lighthouse is portrayed in this film.
Yeah, I like how
I've heard just some food for thought, and then I'll let you go, Ryan. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have been comparing this to the myth of Prometheus from Greek mythology.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about that?
Well,
or do y'all even know what that myth entails?
All I know is that I feel
I know
like
about
he gets his shit pecked in by birds at the end, which I guess in and of itself is appropriate. But I don't know.
So basically,
there's a few different parts to it, but yeah, that is how it ends, with Prometheus getting his liver picked out by an eagle,
and I think,
not a seagull, and it grows.
I think
back.
like Mother, like Dunk said, it's something that a lot of people point as like the main thing in the movie, but I think that's just like one part of it or one interpretation of it. Because with that, like, you could even go like something like Christianity, where it's like enlightenment or judgment at the top, and he's just in purgatory the whole time. Could go with
any interpretation that's just one narrative and is like full allegory the whole way through is going to be completely inadequate to capture
because like you said, there's evidence of there's stuff to support a lot of things in the movie.
But you got to keep in mind that people like this got released to a mainstream audience, and it's like most people who see movies like this need to compartmentalize it with some overly simplistic, reductive explanation, or like they can't fucking sleep at night. Like they can't handle the fucking ambiguity of it. They're like, what? They got to go watch game theory videos about what it means.
I mean, like, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily an interpretation for the whole film, because I mean, the story of Prometheus is like a lot different. The only real similarities here is the fact that it deals with the myth of the act of stealing fire, which isn't even a myth that's specifically relegated to Prometheus. It's one that's repeated in a lot of ancient cultures, but I think it's more just a fact of, I don't know, it's Promethean in essence, that it's searching for some sort of truth, and in the end that very truth ends up burning you, and you are punished for it in some way, whether or not it's because of your own ilk, or if Zeus is like, I'm going to tie you down to a rock and have an eagle peck at your liver and have it grow back for the rest of eternity. Yeah. Because there's another telling of Prometheus that says that the punishment was... So Prometheus also created human beings alongside his brother Epimetheus, and they were only just guys at the time. So when Prometheus stole the art of flame and metallurgy from Hephaestus, Zeus cursed them with Pandora, the first woman, who is said to embody all negative aspects of mankind. So take of that what you will.
Yeah.
The Greeks sound real. Ancient Greeks sound like real cool people.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not just the Greeks. Like a lot of classic stories and literature, it's like, and then the bitch showed up, and everything went
fucking
to fucking
bitches,
hell.
Man.
They ruined all of it.
Just like in this movie, the mermaid is the only girl in this, and she fucks everything up.
I don't know.
So
I mean,
really.
that seagull might be a girl. You don't know. You didn't ask it.
I mean, probably the best thing the Promethean parallel does is like give the film an aura of being a myth without defining what the myth itself is. Almost like as if it's a sort of otherworldly myth that we don't have any familiarity with. which is probably the coolest way it could be.
Because
Oh yeah.
Defoe's character refers to like Poseidon, Neptune, and Triton, who Poseidon and Neptune are the same person, just interpreted through Greek and Roman lenses. But Triton is the son of Poseidon specifically. But those are typically the three names that are brought up.
Father of
whenever they're
Ariel.
Yeah. That is actually canon. Poseidon does exist in the Little Mermaid universe.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's not in Kingdom Hearts, that part.
At least
So
in
I missed that.
in the TV show it is, yeah.
The TV show?
Yeah. My sister had
Pretty
a few
much
episodes
every-
of that on tape, and one of them was like, oh yeah, Triton likes to play this really shitty instrument that everyone hates, but he played it for his dad when he was a kid, and no one wants to tell him that he fucking sucks.
Next week on
Yeah.
the COVID-19 play-by-play, we're gonna do the entire Little Mermaid franchise in chronological order.
Every like Disney movie that
There was
gets
some weird
their
world
own
building
show
in that.
kind of sucks every time. Not gonna lie.
I liked the Aladdin show. Shut up.
I didn't watch the Aladdin show.
Well, guess
Actually,
who's
I didn't even
wrong?
watch the Aladdin sequels. I only watched the first Aladdin, but it's my favorite Disney movie.
Aladdin 2, Jafar.
Comes back,
Jafar is really horny.
but
Far
it's
Strikes
C-U-M.
Back.
Come. What I was gonna say, before all that was, I like how surreal the movie is. Because part of it, is the actual like cinematography of it, which is in the script. The first thing that's in the script is this film must be filmed on 3.5 millimeter lenses in black and white, with a 1 to 1.19 aspect ratio.
See, you also
and
pulled
I
up the
think
script.
that definitely helps specifically with the setting of the film, because I'm like 80% sure that a film like that existed back then, right? Am I right
Well,
about
not in
3.5 millimeter?
Not in 1890. There was the like kinetoscope, I think.
Yeah, your
I don't
timeline is really off on that.
I don't think they really had the kind of cameras that they used, which admittedly they did use like old equipment, like old cameras to film this, but they would not be the kind of cameras that were available in 1890.
Yeah.
In 1890, like the
they
best
filmed
film is like a minute of a sort of vague figure, just sort of like very smudgily appearing in the camera with no audio, and then it's just over.
It all changed when a train arrived at a station.
And then they electrocuted that elephant. Thomas Edison did.
What I'm saying is it lends, I don't know what it lends, I don't know the word for it, but it helps the film with its setting, because the actual lens you're looking through it is a piece of the setting, in that it's old ass film.
I don't know about that. I think what really sells the setting is the costume
Set
and set design mostly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean the lens helps sell that it's really dreary, which aids in this sort of like forgotten lighthouse from decades ago, which I suppose helps in that indirect way, but I don't think the lens helps with the setting in any sort of direct.
And I mean that's not all of it. Like, and one more thing about it is the aspect ratio 1 to 1.19. Excuse me, is that was a specific aspect ratio used for silent films in the early 1900s, the 20s and 30s. And I know that's not when this takes place. I know that's not like specific to it, but like.
But that's not even for the setting. The biggest thing the aspect ratio does is make the entire thing like twice as claustrophobic, and it doesn't really get out of that.
Yeah, that was more what I interpreted from it. Because I mean, the aspect ratio is more of just a byproduct of the technology, which is something. I think that's what they're really trying to go for when shooting with these cameras. Is of course, not only the black and white, like what Dunk said, aiding in the dreariness, but also closing out a lot more of what you see in the frame, and making this really tiny house a lot tinier.
And it's my favorite part of the whole thing is right at the beginning when Robert Pattinson first goes in the bedroom and he sort of bumps his head on the ceiling, and it's like the ceiling sort of it pans up and the ceiling sort of becomes part of the square aspect ratio because it's so dark because the lenses they're using are so, and it like that is sort of the literal realization of the black bars on the side of the screen as confining bits of a cage, and that like that's the moment where you sort of get used to the aspect ratio and accept it and sort of get in that mindset. Because when it first starts, and the cinematography is gorgeous throughout, but it's like I always notice the aspect ratio pretty heavily until like 2 or 3 minutes in, and once that happens, it's like now we're in the lighthouse. This is the shape of the lighthouse is tall and narrow, and the ceiling in the room that we're in is not even tall. It's
very low.
Right. So it's that's when it begins to make sense and come together.
Yeah. And like so continuing on my point about its surreality, because I think surrealism is probably my favorite like feeling in the world, is just like
disclaimer
showing
Ryan,
especially when it's pulled off well, is that it's
a lot of weed.
Disclaimer, Ryan and I watched Mulholland Drive and he gave it 3 out of 5 stars.
I need to watch it.
So he just when he says he liked surrealism is his favorite feeling, I want everyone in the audience to know that he thought Mulholland Drive was 3 out of 5 stars.
I'm not good at appreciating Lynch. But like, just because if you do it right, it captures like this otherworldly feeling that nothing else can. And I know Lynch is really, really good at that. But
that is in the name, surrealism, as in much like a dream, or having the qualities of characteristics of a dream. Yeah.
But the editing really helps with that. Because the pacing, that I was going to bring up earlier was it can something that someone who reviewed this, Ralph the Movie Maker, he said I really like this because it's like you can. Sorry, my head's all over the place, but you can see the movie as like stuff happens between cuts. It could be 2 days or 5 weeks. That's what he said, is between cuts it could be any amount of fucking time and you can't tell. That's a part of it. And the editing in the beginning, in like the first 20 minutes, it's literally mostly just Robert Pattinson doing chores on the lighthouse, and it's just very kind of purposefully dreary and boring. I
wouldn't call it boring, but yes.
Well, we're setting the scene.
Yeah,
we're setting it up.
And the first dream sequence that you talked about earlier with the logs in the ocean, and then Robert Pattinson gets pulled into the ocean and sees that mermaid. My favorite part of that scene is when the mermaid starts screeching, and then it immediately cuts to Robert Pattinson just sleeping, and just a drop of water hits his face and he wakes up. I think that's like the best way that I've seen in a movie anyway of like waking up from a dream. And as the movie goes on, that sort of line between dream and reality is not as clear cut. Like later on when he sees the mermaid on the beach, and he like sees it completely naked and like sees its vagina and whatever, and then he looks up at it and it's like laughing and screeching, and then he runs away screaming, and he can't hear it, and then he runs in and tells what's his face,
nice,
Willem Dafoe. He tells him like he like runs in and he's like, "The fuck are you screaming about, dude?"
Yeah, the way that he just plays it off and is like, whatever he's screaming about, there's no way it's important, and there's no way him thinking it's important is important. So I'm just gonna berate him for it and get on with my day. That's like that's what makes that whole sequence.
Yeah, and yeah, just as the movie goes on, it's harder and harder to tell what's real and what's not.
You mean like surrealism?
Yeah, exactly like surrealism. Just like I said, just because this is my favorite movie and I put a lot of work into this episode does not mean I'll be any better.
You put a lot of work into it, like not watching the movie.
Be any better at showing my point.
Yeah, fair enough.
Showing your point by explaining a definition.
Yes. Y'all know I'm not good at talking.
You're trying. You're trying.
Yeah. Especially
At
with
least
this
you
movie,
show up on
'cause,
time. I can give you that.
yeah, I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot of stuff that I forgot about this movie just from the very act of recording a podcast kind of
Yeah,
forget
I mean, we
certain
could write
things.
stuff down, but
Who would type notes or write
Even
notes
if I
while
write
watching
stuff
something?
down, I'm going to forget shit. All of us are probably
okay,
gonna
but
forget shit
at
that we
least
wanted to
admit that
mention.
it's laziness. I'll admit that it's laziness that I don't write stuff down. But you're trying to act like actually it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't make any difference if I. Oh, shut the fuck up! Come on, you know it would make a difference.
Like,
You're
now
just lazy, like
now
me.
you're putting words in my mouth. You're gaslighting me.
Yeah,
That's not. Putting words in someone's mouth and gaslighting them are two very different things.
yeah. Putting words in someone's mouth is only a bad thing if you're wrong about the words that they're thinking.
It's also different than trying to fundamentally change how someone views reality.
Yeah,
Oh, is that what
Yeah.
gaslighting is?
That's
it's
literally
when-
what it is.
it's when
I
like
figured
I can't
it was just
believe
blaming someone for something.
It's
No.
like I can't believe you killed that guy. What are you talking about? You're going crazy, babe. I didn't kill
That's-
anyone.
That's literally what Defoe does the entire time. What are you talking about? We've been at this for weeks. What do you mean?
Yeah,
And his performance is so good that like whether he's malicious and deliberately manipulating him or also crazy or both is like never defined in any substantial way. It's like all of those things happening at the same time. It's really good. I don't know. This movie's too good. There's not enough to talk about because it's so good.
there's too much to talk about. I think we're just
I
never
like how
gonna
he
get to
says
all of it.
Promethean. I like that. I like that little spiel near the end. He's getting
Oh yeah, I honestly,
You don't see
I'm gonna be
Promethean
really
used
honest.
too
I
much.
still don't really understand what the fuck he's trying to get across. In that last little monologue.
Well, what I extrapolated from it, especially by the use of the word protean, is the fact that looking into the light will change you. Because the light is uncompromising and yet at the same time is mutable. Like, I'd have to hold on, let me pull up the script again, because there's a very deliberate like contradiction to his speech.
I think I just didn't understand a
Seagulls.
lot of the vocabulary he used.
Like protean
Yeah, no, I don't know what a protean form is.
means constantly changing and shifting.
Uh,
Oh, what protean forms swim up from men's minds and melt in hot Promethean plunder scorching eyes, with divine shames and horrors, and cast them down to Davy Jones. And others still blind, yet in it see all divine graces to Fiddler's green scent, where no man is suffered to wanton toil, but is ancient, mutable, and unchanging as she who girdles round the globe. Them's the truth, and you'll be punished. So Fiddler's Green is basically like a sailor's paradise, where you go if you die, if you're like a good sailor for 50 years or so.
huh. Well, that's interesting.
So yeah, when you look into the light, it could melt your mind. But on the other
Yeah.
hand, you might be blind.
It's
and
an
you could be
ever-changing
sent to-
thing.
You could be sent to Fiddler's Green.
The have-nots can never be the haves because to escape being a have-not, you have to embrace a sort of mindset that invalidates any positivity. You have to be self-centered and individualistic and ruthless so that once you get what you want, you no longer have the humanity left to appreciate it. You're either born with it or you can never get it at all. Those are your choices, and they're not choices. They're sides of a two-sided die, sides of a coin, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1d2, what are you trying to say?
Well, yeah, but like even a coin, there's a chance it'll land on the side. So how do you get a perfect?
Well, that's what a
One or
1d2
two.
is. The 1d2 is only 1 or 2. It's
Yeah,
the perfect coin. It's basically a circle, a two-dimensional circle that only ever has one side or the other.
I guess that makes sense.
which couldn't physically exist in our
Well, yeah, but
three-dimensional
now,
world.
Yeah.
which is why it's pointless for me to
It's
try to think about it. But if it did physically exist,
True
it'd still land on its
two-dimensional.
side, and it's like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the troubles of having 3D space.
Yeah, that's just the troubles of reality.
Our reality, anyway.
That's what I learned from Thez.
Well, there's I'm trying to remember. It was actually going to be one of my picks. It's the story of like a circle ascending to the third dimension and looking down on the people he used to see and viewing them in a different light. I forget what it was called.
I feel like I probably brought it up before, but there was some story I think a middle school teacher told me about of a man living in a 2D world. Some book about something like that. Or like he comes from a 3D world and has to live in a 2D world or something.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
I
like a
figured.
movie. It might have been based on a short story, but it's no dot in the line, that's for sure. How long have we been going for?
Nearly an hour.
55.
This podcast sucks, dude.
I think
It
this
was
is a
in
good
the-
episode. We did our job of talking about the movie.
But like all these episodes used to be over an hour, and now we're like struggling to hit
Well,
55
I
minutes
don't-
every time.
I don't know if we're struggling.
Well,
I mean-
hopefully my next pick will rectify that issue.
Yeah. I don't know really what else to say other than like Robert Pattinson. Holy fuck! What an amazing career turnaround, really. From Twilight to I don't know what he did between Twilight and Good Time, but I'm assuming he did something
Some
good.
stuff. I don't know if it's
But-
good,
I
but
mean-
some stuff.
Surely it had to be directed by someone who wasn't an ape.
Yeah, he kind of rebuilt his.
Who directed the
his
Twilight
career.
movies again? I don't remember who directed those.
Probably an ape.
Yeah.
I think. Well, the first. All I remember about the Twilight movies was the first one was directed by a woman, and then when it started getting big money, they gave
course.
the men started directing it. So
Well, they're all terrible, so it doesn't really fucking matter.
yeah,
The biggest problem
I think
with the Twilight, at
there's-
least the first one, which is the only one I saw, is the fucking color palette is so
Yeah.
lifeless. Like, it's just the
The-
bluest, grayest, dullest shit ever.
the
If they
first
put some
Twilight
actual
I
color
think
in
has.
it might be a lot better.
Is that
Has
the color
the-
palette of Alaska?
No, it's really more white and like green,
Pure.
A perfect wonderland.
like
That's
dark
right.
green,
Yep.
and it's kind of lame.
Perfect
But
according to Joe Biden.
Ogres and
we're not-
crackers living together.
I was gonna say Twilight at least has like a smidgen of artistic merit. I think
I don't know
in
about
the fact
that.
that like it I like it a little bit because it feels like an indie movie, I guess, in a small town.
No, it does
Uh,
not feel like an indie movie. It feels like a big budget piece of shit, actually. It
The
feels like
other
a
ones
movie
do.
with a big
First one
budget
does.
that they wasted all of the money because it was such a small scale. That's what it feels like to me. But whatever.
Actually, to continue, something I was talking about, I really like the very end of this. Like this is a movie I love so much that not Twilight, Lighthouse. This is a movie
You
I love
should've
so
talked
much
about Twilight. How much you love it?
that even the credits are something that like I love because it's still, even though the movie's done, like you don't need to be so persistent with your portrayal of it. Like Robert Eggers still goes and he just makes it like a slideshow of just the the actors' names and everyone, while the only music that's playing isn't even. It's just a sea chanty, with only
Shanty.
vocals. Shanty.
Get his ass.
But-
Get his fucking
Shanty.
bitch ass.
Chanty.
Yeah, no,
Shanty.
I was watching the credits and I was thinking, man, if they did scrolling credits, this movie would be ruined. I mean, not seriously,
Yeah.
but like it would take a lot away from like if
If it
th-
felt like
that
the
ending
standard Hollywood
sequence.
suite of
Yeah.
credits.
If that ending sequence happened and then it's scrolling credits, like just think about how
Yeah,
fucking
that would
miserable
fucking-
you would be as you're walking out of the like credits are more important than even if you're only going to watch the first frame of the credits. That frame has to be good, or else you're going to be fucking pissed off as you're walking out of the theater. I mean, it's a really good credit. Speaking of, I think Good Time is the best credit sequence ever, probably.
Really?
It's awesome. It's so good.
I mean, I like it a lot too, but the first time I watched it, I was definitely... Well, the first time I watched Good Time, I was expecting a bit more of like a final thing, but like that ending is more just to show like the hopelessness of the character.
Yeah, because you're a bitch and you don't appreciate how it's...
Everything he did was for naught.
One of the best movies.
But like, the first time I watched that, I didn't really get that. I was just kind of disappointed by how sort of loose the ending was. But after seeing it a couple more times, it's like, yeah, that I like the ending a lot. But anyway, yeah, the song was actually in the movie. If you noticed, during the scene where they were dancing around.
Noticed one of the best scenes in the movie. Yes, I think I did notice that scene. That was amazing.
I didn't notice that the song was the same.
Really?
The first few times. Yeah.
Really?
See, this is why you should watch the movie before the episode. So you can
like the second or third time I watched it, I noticed. But like the first time was no.
That's very bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Or
also, another fun thing about that scene was I like that scene a lot because again, like the lobster scene, it's like it could be interpreted as them trying to dance to crazily to make the sea better, or they're just going insane and they just want to do something.
I mean, yeah, that's literally what sailors would do, even out at sea, just to pass the time. Like what Willem Dafoe's character says about being bored out at sea, that's an actual killer. Not just out in the the doldrums, not specifically the area of the tropics,
but
that doesn't have any
the
wind,
atmosphere,
but the idea of mental stagnation and physical stagnation can definitely cause you to go insane. Also, also drinking incredibly shitty, moldy water from a cistern, that'll also do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You'll have mass hysteria, like Salem witch trials and shit.
Yeah.
That was because of mold, right? Moldy bread or something?
Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to replay Museum Madness again and go through that really fun sequence. That was a good game. It's like... I need to put up my long play.
And the other thing about that scene I wanted to say was the song that Robert Pattinson sings is an actual... While Defoe had like a sort of a sea chanty, like sailor song, the Defoe had Pattinson had a Canadian like lager song or whatever he said his job was.
I'm a lumberjack and he's okay.
And he was like, "Come on, you boys! I wish to hear I got up to the woods last year." But the thing about it was, when they were filming it, Robert Eggers just told him to keep doing it as fast as possible, and he said he did like 3 verses in like 10 seconds, and you can believe it watching how fucking crazy he does that.
Yeah,
and that brings another point up to me is that the main genre that this is defined as, which again genre I think does not do this movie justice, is that it's a psychological horror. And I think that crazy ass dancing scene kind of lends at least some merit to that genre description, because it's like they're going so fucking crazy and so hard on the dancing that sometimes it's a little bit off-putting to watch them go that hard, you know.
This is one that I think is probably better if you don't assign a genre to it, as the parallel we were talking about last week, where some films benefit from being compared to the concept of a genre and some benefit from not. I think this is probably in the latter category. I mean, it's obviously heavily influenced by horror, but
and tentacles.
It doesn't need you don't need that sort of preconceived notion about the beats. You don't need that genre savvy with you to appreciate it, and you're probably better doing it at home if you have a choice.
Yeah. Did you guys have anything else that you wanted to bring up? Because I think that's pretty much all.
Well,
I wanted to say.
The real reason they use the aside from claustrophobia, another good reason they use the black and white and the small aspect ratio is to increase the contrast between that and the audio distortion at the end. Because the audio distortion like genuinely functions as something transcendental and otherworldly, even though it's like an effect you can commonly get with modern technology.
Yeah, I can do it right now. Watch. Sorry.
Yeah, you could have just not done that.
I could have just not done that.
We could have just imagined it in our minds. Now you have to make it all explicit. Well, I have to pick the blood out of my ears now.
Coronavirus is killing everyone.
That's gonna fuck up the normalization part of this audio.
Coronavirus.
Actually, just replace it with what was it? Was it one episode or 2 episodes ago where we had you like fake censor a word?
it was like 3 episodes ago for Into the Wild.
Replace it with that, but heavily distort the audio.
We should see if Mari still has the soundboard files from when we did the Bubble Boy episode. If he still has me singing the Blink 182 riff, and we could make it like a soundboard, and just turn it into even more of a shit posting podcast. And reduce the amount of insights to an even smaller percentage of the show than it already is. Which is very little.
Yeah. So The Lighthouse, it's good, right? I give it a 10.
Nah, it's terrible.
It's my favorite movie.
After we've talked about it, yeah. It's fucking 0 out of 10.
It's great. It's like amazing, but I still only really feel a 9 from it, to be honest. I don't know why I don't feel a 10 from it, but it just kind of does.
It's because I, personally, like, I feel like I got so much out of it. Like,
I feel like
it's what got me really into films again, because I watched it and I loved every single second of it, and there was just so much I like felt like it was not it's not like it was specifically made for me, like it fit my aesthetic or anything, but it's just like everything that I love about like media in general and art is just sort of put into this, and it made me realize how good movies can be, and then I started watching more movies.
Yeah, it just kind of resuscitated.
So that's why I could consider it
it's
like a perfect film and my favorite film.
Your over enthusiasm for the film definitely did color my perception of it going in for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, so you liked it less because you know dumbass Ryan likes it so much.
It's not that I liked it less. It was, I don't know.
You were expecting a bit much out of it.
Not necessarily that either. It's, I don't know, it's hard to put into words. It's not that I was going in expecting like a fucking masterpiece or anything, but I guess what I was trying to do is I was trying to, I guess, glean your taste from it going in, like before watching it. I was like, okay, well, what would he like about this movie? Because I had basically seen nothing about this film up until this point when I had first watched it, other than people talking about how good it was and the performances and how everything was like perfect. So I was trying to imagine, based on my limited knowledge of Ryan's film takes, what he would like about it.
And you imagined the gayest movie ever.
I imagined he only liked the fact that Robert Pattinson actually masturbated for the scenes that he masturbated in.
Yeah, I saw Robert Pattinson's ass and I was like, oh my god, yeah, dude.
If I tried to imagine what Ryan's favorite movie would look like, if I didn't know it was this, I would imagine just like the worst piece of shit. It would just be so terrible. It would be like Ari Aster remaking Forrest Gump is what I would imagine.
Oh my god,
Ryan's favorite movie to be like. So, and I like Ari Aster, for the record. I love him a lot. But
yeah,
that Forrest Gump can never be good under any circumstances.
If you get Alex Kurtzman to write the script, then yes.
Oh god, I know that name. What's that name?
Star Trek Ruiner.
Yeah. That's why I don't. That's why I only kind of know the name and don't really.
He's got that name written in blood on his walls as like a. He's trying to find his fucking address right now.
Yep, it's written in green Ferengi blood.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really good.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. You were the main person I wanted to hear from, Soy, because you
Really?
said you never seen it, and I
Okay.
wanted to. And you're generally you have pretty interesting things to say about movies, so I wanted to hear from you the most. So I'm glad you liked it,
Well, thank
and
you.
I learned new things about the movie from you.
Fun
Surprisingly,
fact about lobsters, by the way, they used to be served as prisoner food for the longest time because they were viewed as locusts of the sea.
Yeah,
Huh.
which is awesome. So cool.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's not like they were preparing it like we prepare lobster today for the prisoners with fucking
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
enriched butter.
Maybe that
Lovely
even-
steamed. That they probably just boiled it.
yeah, maybe that
Cheese
even
Does
lends.
sound fucking awful.
Maybe that even lends to the capitalism thing Dunk was talking about, where prisoners used to be served like this
I
food that
don't
we
think
perceive
that
as like.
has anything to do with.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, but just like in general,
That's a
like
that's
in
a
life.
that's a reach.
Yeah.
That's a reach.
I don't know. I'm always reaching.
Yeah, just because it's cheese with maggots in it doesn't mean it's the maggot cheese delicacy that's banned in the EU. Because guess what? It's not safe to eat maggots. I'm not sure if you
You don't know
this.
that. You haven't
Yeah.
eaten a maggot.
Maybe if you like boiled them or something. I don't know. You
No,
boil
if they're
them.
dead, it's even less safe, supposedly. So you eat them while they're
Oh.
alive.
Huh.
And
I mean,
you
yeah, I've
supposedly
only
you
eaten-
like put your hand over the cheese to keep the maggots from jumping out of the cheese, so you can keep them in there.
Interesting.
It's supposed to be very
I-
soft.
I've only ever eaten like a few insects in my time, and that was mostly through like the weird like Asian delights of, like cockroach, like chocolate covered cockroaches and the scorpion lollipops and shit. So
From coronavirus snacks.
yeah, like
Coronavirus official.
15 years ago, before COVID-19 was even a thing.
I'm just that racist
Ah, I
that
see.
that narrative works for me in my head because I'm.
Great.
From Wuhan to Woohoo virus.
No, quit
Hell yeah.
ruining the episode
Hell
with
yeah.
your racism.
This. What do you mean ruining? We're elevating.
I've said the N-word on this podcast before.
Only
Yeah, and I
once,
censored
though.
it.
We can do more. You censored it, you fuck.
Mari asked me to.
Well, he's
Wow.
gone now. So we're next
What a-
episode.
I did not.
What a
I did not
fucking
censor
nigger.
everything else, but the actual word I censored.
Next episode, I already know Soy's going to pick "Song of the South," and we're
That-
going to say the N word like 46 times. We're going to try to beat the record for most N words said on a podcast. So
By the way, Ryan, I don't know if you caught that, but I said it again when describing Mari.
that's good. Leave that. But you better leave that in, or you're fired.
I was contemplating not telling you about it and seeing if it would slip by.
And your immediate response is going to be, "Well, then who's going to edit the podcast if I'm fired?" And it's like, no one will. We'll cancel the podcast. You either leave the
Well,
N word
just
in,
gonna
or it's
upload
over.
the
Here's what we'll do. We
files.
could just change it to a live stream.
Yeah,
What?
There we go.
Yeah, sure.
and then just no streaming platform will want us because we say so many slurs.
You say so much unwoke shit.
Yeah.
Twitch would
Okay.
definitely not.
You might even
like it.
say anti-woke
Well-
in some ways.
Well, Twitch wouldn't take us because we're not fucking, thoughts.
Yeah, if we had our tits out, maybe.
We won't
Yeah.
send nudes to Twitch mods to allow us to stay on the platform.
That would be so funny if that was actually what's happening.
You
in
know
Twitch.
what? You know what? I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean,
Anyways.
I kind of would be because, like, I feel like the main reason is that they know that if they actually crack down on Twitch thoughts, they'll be, like, ruining their source of income. Like, one of their primary sources. They don't have Ninja anymore. So it's like, what, Twitch thoughts and Shroud, I guess? Is Shroud still on Twitch, or did he switch to... Did he get a good offer?
I'm pretty sure you switched.
What
to
about
Damn.
who's that? Dr. Disrespect? Is he still on Twitch? He's a name I know.
Did he get uncanceled after cheating on his wife? I don't know. I guess that's the important thing to ask.
Did he grow a new mustache? I don't know. That's all I know him as is a pair of sunglasses and a mustache.
That's kind of the character. It's kind of the bit.
He's Captain Hook, but in the modern day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's my pick now.
Yeah, it's your
Mhm.
it's your turn.
Okay, I have to ask y'all a qualifying question.
Okay.
For the pick. Oh fuck! I closed the tab. Hold on. As I need to re-pull up the title of this thing. Have either of y'all seen? No, this isn't the movie I'm going to pick, by the way. But have either of y'all seen In the Aftermath? Angels Never Sleep.
I have no idea what that is. So no.
Good.
I have not.
Excellent.
Okay.
because the actual pick is Angel's Egg.
Ah, I have heard of that, but I don't actually know anything about it.
Angel's Egg?
I'm glad to finally be able to watch it, though.
It's kind of a hard thing to. It's kind of a hard film to know things about.
Right. Yeah, but it's just I've seen it in like a highly regarded surrealist films. I see it a lot, which is a good selling point for me.
Well, it was a collaboration between what was his name? Mamoru.
Holy
Oshii
shit! This looks amazing. Sorry, continue.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Mamoru Oshii, who is the guy who directed most of Urusei Yatsura, and also worked on. He also was the director of the Ghost in the Shell film. And at the same time, Yoshitaka Amano, who people might know as being one of the major artists behind Final Fantasy, like a lot of the Final Fantasy drawings. Like, if you have ever looked at the art for Final Fantasy 6 or 5, or really most of the games, like the artwork that you see externally to the games that's drawn by him. Or like if you ever look at the character portraits of any of the GBA Final Fantasy games, those portraits that are in the dialogue boxes are taken from his drawings, but the actual in-game sprites are drawn by someone else.
This is gonna be a tough one to do the thumbnail for.
What, Angel's Egg?
Yeah, because I'm looking at
Put a fucking
main
egg on it.
No, I was looking at the main image of the girl with like all the hair strands. And
you didn't even try for the Memories of Murder one. You just put like a still of the movie. You fucking.
I tried a lot. I tried in the stupidest way with the worst program to do it with, but I tried.
You didn't try enough to look up alternatives to MS Paint.
Man, is Mari exceptionally good at thumbnails, or is Ryan exceptionally bad at thumbnails, or both?
Hey, the Memories of Murder thumbnail does not look that bad.
It's not a matter, like I said before, it's not a matter of effort or quality. It's a matter of time taken to accomplish a task.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this looks very good. I'm excited to watch it.
It is good.
Oh, you said that, and I was like, okay, but no way that the Final Fantasy I like, which is 10, of course, because I'm an asshole, no way that he also did the character artwork for that. But no, he did. He definitely did. So
he's really fucking good.
Well, that seems neat.
Way better than, what's his face? Tetsuya Nomura.
Hey, man.
Just destroying Kingdom Hearts creator.
I love
Tetsuya
Kingdom
Nomura
Hearts,
like that.
okay?
I love everything about Kingdom Hearts that doesn't have to do with Kingdom Hearts. I love the fact that Donald and Goofy are treated as very serious characters.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and that one death scene is...
Kingdom Hearts is a great example of something that, like, I sincerely like because of it being stupid. It's not ironic appeal. It's not like The Room where I'm like, oh, that's so incredibly stupid. It's like, wow, that's so stupid, and I have so much respect for it being that stupid and so self-serious about it. It's
the
like
greatest elevator pitch of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. This is now Kingdom Hearts cast, everybody.
Yeah. We're going to talk about how to get the gummy ship blueprints.
No, I gave up.
We're going to talk about how all the villains are essentially the same guy, but 5 different versions of
Ryan was with me when I was like, I'm going to do all the gummy ship missions, and I tried one for like 2 hours, and I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
the gummy ship
those
missions. They're rough.
Yeah. And 2, they're a little better, but...
So I hear.
But anyway...
It's more like Star Fox.
I'm glad Soy is the one who picked the first anime for the podcast.
We're now weeb goblin cellular.
Yeah, because again, attributing it to just simply labels and such is a really, really excellent way of qualifying it.
You know I was not being serious. Piece of shit.
Yeah, but the thing is, Ryan, is that I also wasn't being serious, but I'm so confident that Soy knows that I'm not being serious that I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to be like, yo, come on, you know I'm not being serious. Come on.
Every single time I say something, you guys find a way to fucking beat me down for it.
Well, that's just because it's fun to bully you.
We know you're going to react that way.
I'm glad you guys have me figured out, because I don't.
Yeah, let's do a self-pity cast for the next 4 minutes. Tell us about your problems, Ryan.
Tell us about your problems
Do
while
it.
I do something else and only half-heartedly listen.
He's just over there playing
That's
advice.
the
Kirby
worst.
64 while Ryan's talking about his...
That's so fucking mean, dude.
I'm joking. Jesus.
I know you're joking, but just the concept of that is really mean.
You just
Yeah,
hear
it
him
is
occasionally go, damn.
Oh, fucking. Oh, yeah. What was that you were saying? Sorry, I was trying to get this one crystal shard.
I'm trying to get a full stack of elixirs.
That's so fucking funny.
Sorry, I'm grinding up ABP in Final Fantasy V.
Just playing a really loud, like, dumb game with stupid sound effects like Kingdom Hearts. Just like
Deep
Sora being like,
freeze! This should
I
help.
believe in the heart of the cards, while you're just bawling your eyes out about your girlfriend or something.
That's a lot
Damn,
of the
dude.
theme.
Traverse Town is it's such a banger. It is such a hard tune.
Yep.
Good episode.
Good episode.
Bye.
I rate the success of an episode based on how off track we are by the end of it. That's,
Okay, well, in
is
that
pretty
case,
good.
this is a fucking terrible episode, but
No, it's fucking excellent.
No, I mean, that's better the more off track we are. That was
Yeah.
the point.
ah,
All right, ending recording.
me too.